Hey, this is Jake at MetalWorks, and right now we're just going to kind of talk where we're at and what it took to get this 63 Nova here to this point. So the first thing we do is we get these cars back from the dip tank, and which is an acid dipping that removes all the internal and all the corrosion and kind of neutralizes that red oxide and stops it from going. So the first step that we go through is to actually remove the waterborne sealer that they put on that coming out of the tank. And then, so we'll hit that with 80 grit, red Scotch-Brite, and some metal conditioner cleaner, get the metal surface really clean. And then we top coat that with epoxy. And so everything will get blown apart, gets a coat of epoxy, and then from there we'll let it sit for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, start on another build. And in that time, that epoxy is kind of doing its thing and setting up. So once that's done, then we will prep the epoxy, and then we'll do our body work and body filler on top of that. So that allows a nice, tight, clean moisture barrier, corrosion protection, and chip protection. So we'll do the body work. We'll rough that out to about 120, 150. And then from there, once we know that the body work is pretty much to where the car needs to be, that means building the doors to the quarters and the fenders to the doors, and then the hood, and building all that together and making it one complete sculpture pretty much. We will actually blow the car apart, and we will use a high build. A lot of people use polyester primers. We use another product that is really great that we really like, and that's a vinyl ester, which is also waterproof. So you've got a really good water moisture barrier from underneath, so moisture can't creep up and create problems later down the road, and give you a long-lasting finish. And from there, we will once that's been sprayed with the high build primers, like I said, either a polyester or like a vinyl ester. Then we will cut that down with something really sharp, and the most rigid blocks we have, the best fit the contour of the panel. And then that will pretty much give you your initial shape. And whatever grit that you want to start with, that you do start with, that's pretty much going to be the shape of the vehicle. And then from every step on thereafter is to remove that initial shaping sand scratch. So if you start at 100 and you jump to 150, 180, 220, you don't want to go too far from what your initial shaping paper is, because it just takes that much longer to remove that kind of a sand scratch. So generally we finish it out to 150 in the high build primer, and then we'll make sure that everything's good, that we like it, and then we'll put if there's any breakthroughs or areas that needed to be caught up or that were just missed in the bodywork phase, that's where we will repair and catch that part up. And then there's usually, there's always going to be a few spots that you have to reprime, and then you just go back in and reprime those areas, let that sit, and then from there on out, we will take that material, because you can top coat it. We will take that material down to, we'll start with probably 150 again, maybe 100 if there's a lot of millage that you have to plane down. And then we'll take that all the way out to about 150 to 220, and then probably 320 is where we'll finish. And then once everything is good, we know the body work is where we want it to be, then it will go into the wet sanding. And so we'll finish that 320 with a wet 5, wet 6, and then we also like the 3M sponges. They're really great, so we'll finish that out in superfine sponge. So that gets it about to here. So once it gets to that part is done, and that's all blocked out and finished out, about 600 to 800, depending on the type of flake pearls you have in the material. If you've got a lot of stuff going on, or like you got your golds or your yellows or the really complicated colors with a lot of effect, you want to finish out a little bit finer, just to avoid any sand scratch swelling. And so this car has been taken all the way out to 800, and the first step we did was to remove the front suspension away from it, so we could paint this firewall first. And they went with the body color with semi-gloss clear, and while we were doing that for efficiency, we took care of the dash and the interior panels that needed to be painted. And so now those have sat over the weekend. We've masked onto those. We're going to finish masking the car, and it's time to get the car sprayed. So this car is going to have an offset rally stripe with an outer stripe that's going to go down the hood, across the cowl, over the roof, rear panel into the deck lid. So it's really, really, really important that you build the whole car just like you had it built when you sculpted the car. And that's just going to make sure that you have every line is going to be on point. It's going to flow right into each other, and you're not going to be off by a 1/16 of an inch or something, because that's pretty obvious when you're off. So that's what we're doing now. I put the front end back on after today, finishing up the masking, and then I'll paint the fenders and the hood, not built on the car yet, because I need to have access to the side cowl. It's really tough to get into these door jamb areas and behind the hinges, but the car will be built and put back together. The panels will be hung once we have the two coats of color, and then the next day I'll come in and I'll dirt spec anything, get out any imperfection in the paint so far. Then I'll put a third final coat across everything, and then I will drop an orientation coat, make sure that the flakes are all nice and settled and even across all the panels, and then we will actually take the panels and we will actually hang them on the vehicle. And from there I will make sure that everything's lined up and perfect to how it needs to be bolted on when it's finally assembled. And then that'll give me my car I'll use a laser level to make sure I got my lines on point all the way down through the top into the back. And then once those are masked, I will mask the primary color, and we will spray that color with the secondary color, which is going to be a prospect gray. So that's where this is at right now. Pretty excited. It's my first one to kind of get to complete here with MetalWorks, and I've got to do a lot of fun stuff here, but this is pretty exciting. I feel pretty happy with it so far, and it's going to look great.